Ninjago has had some pretty weird storylines and concepts in its pretty lengthy history. I don't think that's too out of the ordinary and far-fetched for me as a Ninjago fan to go ahead and say. In fact, I think that for anybody to disagree would just be kind of wrong, because as big as a Ninjago fan as some people are, I just think it is, again, pretty silly to actually go against that fact. Ninjago, despite it being pretty great for the most part, you know, it's not perfect, and some of the storylines are just pretty strange. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, however, is a matter of perspective at the end of the day. However, with that being said, today I want to talk about a very, very peculiar and just kind of interesting, I suppose, an interesting concept and story that happened in a Season 2 episode titled The Last Voyage. Now, before we even get into the proper meat and potatoes here, I just want to say that The Last Voyage is such a cool episode, right? I mean, Dr. Julian stuff aside, even just the beginning part of this episode is genuinely really quite cool. You really enjoy the ninjas' actual voyage to the Dark Island in this episode, them fighting off the Star Teeth, the whole atmosphere with the whole storm going on in the Destiny's Bounty. It was just so much fun to watch. But, bang! The ninja crash on the lighthouse island where they find Dr. Julian, obviously Zane's father, a character who was long thought to have passed away. So they go and meet Dr. Julian, and long story short, he tells them that he was, well, dead. At one point he died when Zane thought that he also died, but then things changed because Zane left the scene, and then Samukai and a few skulking warriors come into this place, and they revive him with a special elixir. That's it. That is quite literally what happens. So Zane leaves, and then Samukai walks in, gives a Dr. Julian a potion that instantly revives him, and then Samukai says that in order for you to actually see your son again, you must build these weapons and vehicles for me, and yeah, for a little extra motivation, he then tied him up inside a lighthouse, essentially forced him there, and set a Leviathan, which is a really evil-looking, crazy-looking sea creature to keep guard over him, and that was that. Now, in my eyes, that is just crazy, and the fact that it's kind of put in this episode as just kind of like a, oh, you know, no big deal type thing is absolutely insane to me, and it's one of those things that only Ninjago could possibly get away with. It's one of those really interesting storylines that isn't really actually spoken about by the overarching Ninjago community all that much, which again is absolutely just crazy work when you consider the fact that a Ninjago character, a pretty beloved main character at that, actually died, but then seconds later was just brought to life again with a very special elixir. That kind of changes the whole concept of death in Ninjago, because how hard is this elixir to come across? Because if it's relatively easy to come across, then doesn't that just mean that pretty much everybody in Ninjago is immortal, or at least that they have a second chance at coming back to life again? In my eyes, that's wild. And if it's not easy to come across, then where the heck did Samukai get it from? Is it like a really hard to obtain substance only found in the underworld, the Skulkin's home realm? So many questions can be raised just from this in my books, and it's one of those things that when you think about it too much, it just becomes kind of ridiculous overall. And overall, right, this whole death sequence just makes no sense. Again, just to run you guys through it for one last time. Dr. Julian died, was brought back to life by a special elixir, was then forced into the lighthouse. A Leviathan was chained to essentially keep guard over him outside this lighthouse, and he was forced to create these skulking vehicles. All was said in the space of like 2 minutes into this one episode. It was so random, it was so crazy, and to this day it's still just so overlooked. And the way that the actual showrunners played this off within said episode, it was done in such a way that was just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, this is totally normal. And all of this just combines together to create one absolutely ridiculously crazy storyline in Ninjago, and it's one of those things that when I rewatch it, I pick up on this big time, and I just sit back and think, wow, that was just crazy, to put it lightly, right? It's just one of these crazy things that only Ninjago could possibly put into its episode and get away with. With this all being said, though, that is going to do it from me here. Have you guys noticed this at all when you've been rewatching these episodes as of late, or just at all? To me, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's just so absurd that it's actually kind of funny, but all in all, it just makes no sense. If you did actually enjoy today's video though, guys, please do go ahead and leave a like on it for me. I really do appreciate it. While you're down there, please do also consider subscribing to my channel. Once again, it really does help me out. And also consider turning on the notification bell so that you can actually get notified whenever I do post a new video, hopefully every few days or so. And with all of this being said, you guys, take it easy and goodbye.